Welcome to Kollectiv Re-Education, where you get told everything you're doing wrong.
Everyone is a liberal. We're all revisionists.
Liberals! All of you! A lot of you!
Here we go.
Agree with us or else.
Yeah.
We'll
Welcome to Kollectiv Re-Education, where we're right and you're wrong.
Even when we're wrong?
Hello!
Right. Hello.
Cutie, please bring out your comrade sunglasses.
I would put them on, but I'm eating. I'm a little hungry boy, okay?
So for anybody who's new here, we don't do guest requests. This ain't a debate. We're here to tell you everything you're doing wrong and why.
We're here to re-educate you on how to be a Marxist.
Mm-hmm.
I just broke my ear.
Sponsored by Monster Energy Drink. Did you say you broke your hand?
I just broke my ear.
Bro,
You broke your ear?
I had an itch and I went to scratch it and all of a sudden everything muted.
And you sound like a robot too.
That's crazy. I was waiting for that sponsorship for a month, Ivan? And
listen.
Finally
they didn't want to sponsor me until we started wearing eyeglasses from I Buy Direct. Enter the code communism for 20% off. Where's L Dog? L Dog is right now in chains, and by in chains I mean he's working.
Right, in the chains of capitalism.
In the chains of
dragged
capitalism.
Down.
Does Chris sound crazy for you guys? Or
He sounds. I mean, it's iffy.
Hold on. Let me leave and come back.
All right,
bro.
That's fine.
Why do we already have 1K likes? That's bananas.
I don't know, but thanks, guys. I feel like we need to do a little jam for them.
All right. I'm gonna sing a little song. You're a bad
Alright, how about now?
Nope,
It sounds better.
You
It sounds
sound
better.
fucking worse, bro. No, he
Bro,
does not.
he's in the Matrix. We gotta just roll with it.
All 4 viewers are gonna be disappointed.
All 9. Bro, you guys need to. Okay, we're gonna give it like.
I'm doing it.
We're gonna give it like 10 minutes. Can the people that are in the chat right now share it with your friends, enemies?
Share it with your enemies. Share it with your enemies. They're gonna want to hear this one.
Share it with your enemies and tell them that we might argue with them later at the end.
You could share it with Rathbone.
Your adversaries.
China,
Yep.
The whole Cracker Brigade.
the whole
Send it,
Crack
bro.
Brigade, all the Pat Socks.
Send it up.
Earlier I called it the saltine sleeve.
Also, the title of our episode today is Pat Socks and Trotskys. What was it again? Hold on.
I'm happy that you remembered it bar for bar.
Pat
This
Socks
is
and
your
Trotskys.
show.
I know, bro. Pat Socks and
You're the
Trotskys.
producer here.
Oh my god. I don't know. Something like that.
And tell her, listen.
It was something like, oh my god. I don't know. It was some crazy shit. It wasn't the best title.
Wow.
it was I swear to God.
I swear to God. There we go. I swear to God. Hello, Hells. Welcome. I see you, Rich. Hello, Springs. Everybody's in attendance. We're still waiting for people to share a little more. Hi, Dave. I see you centered your logo. It's good to know.
I'm gonna do little lights to the live. You can see my fingers.
Mm-hmm. How's everybody doing today?
We chilling. We vibing. We here.
I feel like we're always doing. But...
Chilling and vibing and chilling.
I threw up.
Yeah, that's what communism is.
Because you can't look into the camera sideways,
I threw up,
like
bro.
intimately, and be like, "I threw up,
bro." I threw up, but now I had some soup.
Save that for our fucking private VCs, bro. That's an internal conversation.
You're gonna start rumors. The collective cult has poisoned one of their own.
Yeah, please share the Kollectiv live with all of your enemies. Unblock people that you have blocked. Send it away.
Now we're at 2.4K likes.
million.
She was like grayed out. Cutie, can you talk for a second? I want to make sure your shit's working. It's like grayed out for me, and I'm not sure.
What are you complaining about?
Nothing. We're good. Thank you.
You're good, little mama.
All right, Ivan. Do you want to start this showdown? You look like you're in Miami Vice right now, bro. You better get on your motorboat.
brother, listen. When it comes to discussing the patriotic, the ops, generally known as the Patriotic Socialists and the Trotskyites, there needs to be some reform, ironically, here on TikTok. I don't know if it's the sunglasses today, if I'm just feeling frisky, or it's the emotional damage, but I
think it's
y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop messing with those people because they're a bunch of fucking clowns. The Pat sucks more so than the Trotskyites. I mean, I don't like Trots, but like, that's more like past academic beef versus patriotic socialists, which are actually detrimental to leftists and communist Marxist movements. So, basically, a little bit of the background here is that patriotic socialism really started to pick up speed, I would say, about 3 to 5 years ago. We saw a lot of the progenitor of on this app being mainly the Midwestern Marx Institute and a lot of their fans. Their reasoning, nice face reveal. Their reasoning was essentially that America, just like most nations, is a nation of proletariat. It's a nation of workers. And in this case, it's a nation of mostly white workers. So, in their ideological view, in order to perpetuate revolution, in order to have a revolution, you need to appeal to the worker, the main worker, in this case, white workers. However, instead of approaching these workers through a lens of deconstruction of racial and cultural contradictions, instead they focus on the idea of that America can be changed into a communist nation, as opposed to America, this is a joke, I don't actually mean this, FBI, needs to be abolished. And by primarily not advocating, what's the word I'm looking for, playing on white sentiment, you can get these workers to suddenly side with you as communists. But the main issue here is that a lot of these so-called advocates for patriotic socialism, those being the likes of Eddie Liger Smith, Haas Infrared, and Jackson Hinkle, they aren't actually using dialectics or communism in order to speak to these people. What they're doing is they're presenting to poor white workers an alternative position. And if you know history, you would know already the danger of the phrase alternate position, because yes, a lot of these workers do recognize that, especially in this new election coming up, that what are their options? Donald Trump, who was a grifter to them, and Joe Biden, who has objectively made things worse in the last 4 years. So if you can tell these people, oh, there is another position, it's something called patriotic socialism or MAGA communism, then we can beat the system, right? But without teaching those people dialectics, without teaching those people deconstruction, you are now heavily going down the same pathway that I'm trying to think of the actual phrase of the political party in Germany in 1940 that isn't the shorthand. Was it National Socialist Workers' Party? But you guys know what I'm saying, though. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of the it's kind of the without me reading a script introduction.
Social democracy and all that crap.
Damn, Cruz, you sound a million miles away.
Hold on. Watch this.
Alright, I'm watching.
Do I sound better?
Yes, infinitely better.
Yeah, way better. What'd you do? Roll down your window?
I unplugged from my car.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you guys just sound worse to me, but if I sound better to everyone else, then so be it.
To the people.
Alright, so I'm gonna actually send you something, crew. Actually, hold on. You talk, Trees, for a second. I gotta pull up something.
I was just going to add to it. So it's like with patriotic socialism, like one of the main issues is it maintains the settler colonial state, which just is an inherent contradiction, and it cannot actually, like you said, it cannot continue to exist. While also trying to establish a communist state. And it's not uncommon to hear things from Pat Sox like, oh, we need to achieve revolution and, say, a socialist state within the United States before we can tackle the other issues like racism and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. Aria, do you have
What up? Is my shit super fucked up?
No, I'm asking if you have your computer in front of you because I want to send you something.
I have my phone. I don't have my computer. If you're sending it on Discord, that's fine. Because I can tab over. Look at the glass.
The framing.
So.
Alright. I sent you from Pro Wikipedia sort of a more of official definition of patriotic socialism, but I think if you tab out, we're not going to be able to hear you.
Let's see. We're going to play a game today.
It's called experimentation.
Yeah, no.
So I think there's something interesting happening like within the comments. The discussion with like nationalism, and there's sort of there. I think it's important to note that there is a difference between, say, the nationalism that we saw in 1930s Germany and like national liberation movements trying to establish their own nation, like say in Vietnam.
Right. Well, it comes down again to settler colonialism, because the United States is, and I know there's some controversy about the Joseph Stalin's national question, but if we were to just go off of that for a second, at least the way that Stalin defines a nation is that it's a set characteristics of culture, mutual culture, identity, language, politics, religion. And the United States is founded on slavery and stolen land, right? Mm-hmm. And its original population has been displaced and genocided almost out of existence. So it's not a national liberation movement when the people who live in the country aren't necessarily settlers themselves just based off of time, but they are not the original inheritors of the land. So what are they freeing themselves from? They can free themselves from capitalism and establish perhaps a new state, one that is not founded on slavery or imperialism or genocide. But if you're trying to have a movement that goes back to sort of the findings of what the original, let's say, founding fathers intended, it goes back to slavery and colonialism. So, like, if you understand how the United States was founded and why it was founded, why the American Revolution was fought, then you will understand very quickly there's nothing for people to go back in a way. But Aria, you have that article?
Yeah. So, patriotic socialism is an opportunist and revisionist movement born in the United States that advocates for patriotism within the imperial core. It is distinct from patriotism within anti-imperialist, colonized, and socialist countries. Do you want me to read the whole thing? Because I can.
Yeah, keep going. I think it's good.
Okay, give me a second. Not opening it and it just disappeared. Okay.
Noted.
Patriotic socialism has grown to become its own strand of socialist theory, especially within the communist movement in the United States. However, this trend is wholly different from patriotism as applied to socialism. The confusion, however, is often exploited by followers of this ideology so as to associate themselves with more progressive and successful patriotic movements such as are seen in the Palestinian struggle or in Mao's People's Republic China. It should be noted that the name Patriotic Socialism was also coined by its followers and remains a name they prefer to be called, thus marking a clear difference with socialist patriotism or other similar terms. The people who are commonly associated as current leaders of patriotic socialism include Haas, Caleb Maupin, and Jackson Hinkle.
Right. The Goober clan. So,
Got him.
Cutie, you might know more of this off the top of your head, but I know that Pat Sox has used the what was it? Something that Lenin had said, essentially about being patriotic towards the Russian nation. But I'm not exactly sure off rip what he said. I'm gonna have to look it up. If you're there, you might know. But basically, Lenin said something about the conditions of Russia for... Oh, you unmuted. You got it?
I don't think it's Lenin. I think it's Ho Chi Minh, where he said that he was a patriot and then a socialist.
Right, okay.
I don't know anything about Lenin saying that he was a patriot of like, Russia.
Okay. Yeah, I remember them saying something
it,
like that, but honestly, I could be misremembering, so I'm not going to say for sure that that's what I've heard patriotic socialists say. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong, 100%. But yeah, okay, so going back to the definition that Arya just read for us, like, when it comes to, like, the Palestinian liberation movement, the Palestinians are indigenous to Palestine, right? So they are having a national liberation movement in order to be a self-determining nation, a self-determining state. The United States, primarily white people, are not indigenous to the United States. The founding of the nation is not indigenous to the state itself. Because, again, how was it founded? Through colonization, through genocide and slavery. So when you're saying, we have to be proud of these things, we have to be proud of the nation, patriotic towards the nation, that is what you're being patriotic towards. Right. When Pat Sox argued that, well, no, we're patriotic towards our neighbors and the scenery and land and the nature and my neighbors, those are things that are independent from the existence of the nation. If tomorrow the anarchists have their way, the scenery, the neighbors, and all that would still be there for the most part in this hypothetical. So, like, to say that you're patriotic of America because you love your neighborhood, it doesn't really hold up. Especially even if you do love your neighborhood is there because of genocide and slavery. So, yeah, there really isn't anything there in regards to patriotic about. But you want to go down and read a little bit more of the origins, Arya?
Sure, Mike. Mike's not his
Thanks,
name.
bro.
That's just some bullshit.
I was like, what?
Hold on a second for me. Origin. Patriotic socialism originated from the American exceptionalism of J. Lovestone, the leader of the rightist faction in the CPUSA during the 1920s. He believed that capitalism was so strong in the United States that a revolution would be impossible and encouraged passively waiting for capitalism to decline. After the Comintern purged Lovestone, Earl Browder took control of the party. During the 1930s, he called for a united front with the bourgeoisie and claimed that communism is 20th century Americanism. In 1944, he dissolved the CPUSA, but the French Communist Party intervened to re-establish the party the next year. The 1957 party convention argued for gradual and peaceful transition of socialism and encouraged the CPUSA to support progressive Democrat campaigns. It also rejected self-determination for the Black Belt.
Major L.
Yeah, definite womp womp.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, right? Like, you can't have a movement that is for the liberation of the workers when the country itself was founded primarily off the labor of slaves. And then once slavery was ended in the way that it was established, now poor black and brown people who aren't paid very well are building the nation, and now they're not even allowed to have self-determination when you have a group of people who were forcibly brought over to the nation who now don't have a say in it. Like that is just simply opening a door again for, at best, apartheid, and at worst, a reestablishment of slavery. And as we've seen in this country now, we do have slavery. It's just through the prison industrial complex.
And totally legal within the Constitution.
On God. You good, cutie? You've been muted for a little bit.
I'm finishing up my chompies.
Nice. When he's done chopping, he'll yap for a little bit. All right, Aria, could you? I'm gonna send you another one real quick.
I was looking at the praxis part of it. I found that to be intriguing.
What does that say?
All right, go for it.
It says, Patriotic Socialism, even after several years of existence, is a movement that remains almost entirely online, focusing on the social media to create virility and thus visibility. Patriotic Socialists have yet to form a political party, instead promoting the CPUSA 2036 slogan, an attempt at infiltrating the Communist Party of the USA, and win the 2036 presidential election through it. The Center for Political Innovation is registered as a private enterprise by Caleb Maupin and not as a party, applying different laws to the entity. Patriotic Socialists tend to attack the left, as we know, including the projects and efforts of communists and Marxist-Leninists, particularly when it is internet-based, but almost never the right. In fact, they often agree with conservatives and boost their message.
Uh-oh. It's almost like the movement is founded for people who benefit most from liberal conservatism. White, racist people.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's neither here nor there.
But then they can also take these words that are significantly growing in popularity, socialism and communism. Like, I think I remember there had been a report that among younger generation, like 2/3 of them are comfortable with the idea of communism at this point. Like, just in a poll, 2/3 of the people responded positively to the idea of communism. So by forming something like MAGA communism or patriotic socialism, you can kind of siphon that energy. And that desire to change something, but then prevent it from actually changing anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We'll get into a little bit more specifically about MAGA communism in a second. But talking about how patriotic socialism is essentially like only exists online. Yeah, and these people are chronically online. And I mean, we're chronically online, all of us right now, we're on TikTok. But these people, like, it was Haas and Edward, or maybe it was Hinkle, I don't remember. They went to one of the major universities was having a pro-Palestinian encampment, and they walked in there, and basically nobody knew who they were. And when they got on stage to talk, they essentially chastised the students for being too woke. There's a video on it on Twitter, and basically they went online. Haas called a bunch of people the F-slur, basically said that they weren't ready for him, they were scared of him, and all this bullshit. Really what it is just the inability for these people to actually connect to workers. The reason why they believe that they can is because they're talking to fellow white racists and white supremacists on TikTok, on Twitter mostly, probably on Reddit too. But when it comes to, like, when they're advocating for, like, let's, talk to the workers, these people aren't meeting with workers. They're not. In fact, they don't even really believe, like, particularly, they don't agree with sort of, like, who is considered a worker proletariat. Today, I'll give you an example. I think it was Haas, but it might have been Eddie. But one of them basically said that, like, Starbucks baristas aren't workers, which is a really goofy thing to say, because then you don't understand that the U.S. economy is basically built on consumerism, not so much like commodity production. It's built on commodity production. It's not really like industrial based. all of our industry has been exported. So if you don't recognize the current state of the economy in a very basic sense, then you won't be able to understand the more complicated issues like the destabilizing of the United States, etc. Yes, we were talking about Pat Sox, Midwestern Mouse. All right, cutie, I saw you on mute.
Yep. Okay, so I found, I think, the thing that you're talking about, and we talk about this more in depth on the podcast. It's actually episode 24. So if you just open up that little live tab, it'll show you and you can watch the whole thing, but I'll read like a little excerpt here. It is from Lenin. It's called "The Question of Nationalities," or in quotation, automization or autonomization, right? And here's what he says around the midsection here. He says, "In my writings on the national question, I have already said that an abstract presentation of the question of nationalism in general is of no use at all. A distinction must necessarily be made between the nationalism of an oppressor nation and that of an oppressed nation, the nationalism of a big nation and that of a small nation."
Yeah, so basically, in this modern context, the United States is the large oppressor nation, and the smaller nations are the smaller literal nations that make up the United States. The Black Belt South, the Atzland, I can't believe I'm forgetting the third major one, all the indigenous nations that still exist on reservations in the country. Those are all groups of people, cultures, nationalities that exist in the imperial core, and they are all oppressed by the bourgeois. So again, if you don't recognize that, then you are going to fail to understand what needs to be done ultimately, which will get FBI'd. Puerto Rico, Guam too, right? Exactly. So Puerto Rico, Guam, even Alaska, Hawaii, not the Marshall Islands. What am I thinking of? There's some islands way out in the Pacific that are literal colonies of the United States. So how are you gonna get Puerto Ricans on the island to have a national liberation movement when their own nation is subjugated by the larger oppressor nation? But these people, these Pat Sox, they don't care because they're brown people. I'm just gonna keep it a buck.
There you go, Marshall Islands.
Yeah. They also, I see here, they also are very, very fond of the BRICS nations and this concept of multipolarity. And we've talked about this on the podcast a little bit. And if you read the BRICS charter, it outlines pretty clearly that what is happening is inter-imperial conflict and also inter-imperial coordination. There are competing markets, there are competing smaller imperial powers in the world that are trying to get a slice of the pie. The BRICS nations aren't going to save the world with global communism. It's just a higher level of the contradictions within capitalism of nations not necessarily wanting to work with the United States anymore because they want a bigger slice of the pie than what the United States is taking from them. So this idea that Russia is gonna save the world, China is gonna save the world, Iran's gonna save the world. Nah, dog. Nah, big dog. It's proletariat revolution all day, every day. You can't rely on capitalist countries to do that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I have a continuation of this here. In this one, he goes a little bit more into detail. And again, this is from Lenin. He said, in respect to to the second kind of nationalism, and he's referring to the nationalism of a small nation. He says, in respect of the second kind of nationalism, we nationals of a big nation have... Oh, Jesus Christ, bro, stop calling me dog. We nationals of a big nation have nearly always been guilty in historic practice of an infinite number of cases of violence. Furthermore, we commit violence and insult an infinite number of times without noticing. It is It is sufficient to recall my vulgar reminiscence of how non-Russians are treated, how Poles are not called by any other name than Polishiska, how Tatar are nicknamed Prince, how Ukrainians are always Kakos, and Georgians and other Caucasian nationals are Caucasians. This is why internationalism on the part of oppressors or great nations... Bro, stop calling me, dog. as they are called, and then he puts in parentheses, though they are great only in violence, as bullies, in parentheses, must consist not only in the observance of the formal equality of nations, but even an inequality of the oppressor nation, the great nation that must make up for the inequality which obtains in actual practice. Anybody who does not understand this has not grasped the real proletarian attitude to the national question. He is essentially petty bourgeois in his point of view and is therefore sure to descend to the bourgeois point of view.
Baller. Yeah.
So just that, like, it's actually, they would call him a liberal, bro. If they would call him liberal ID poll obsessed, because what he literally just said is that they need to actually do more for the oppressed nations to, like, make up for what they did. They just get automatic equality, that actually it would be unequal, that Russians would be at a disadvantage to a certain extent, because they would be paying back what they did.
Yeah, so I guess we can kind of touch on that a little bit before we get to the modern communism a little bit more specifically, and then we can move on to Trotskyites. So, like, as I'm sure some of you in the chat have seen, like, this constant back and forth between people who like Kollectiv and people who don't like Kollectiv. And generally the arguments come from white so-called communists, generally Patsocks, who are really fixated on this concept of identity politics, and that the only thing that matters at the end of the day is class, right? Now, that makes sense, right? We're talking about proletariat revolution. So what are the two major classes? The proletariat, bourgeois. But what these people don't understand is that the reason why so many of the proletariat are black and brown, indigenous people, women, transgender people, really anybody, even poor white people, are because the bourgeois put them there in the first place. That's why intersectionality is so important, because you need to understand that there is a difference between being a black worker, being a Hispanic worker, being a transgender worker, being a poor white worker, because of how they were put in that position in the first place. If you don't understand that, and you refuse to acknowledge intersectionality, but only want to talk about class, and not understand why those people are part of that class, then you are only interested in advancing your position, generally as a white person. So, it's not very communist, it's not very socialist, it's white supremacy, it's racism. Being disabled too, like they don't even want to talk about that, because they don't want to get down into the nitty-gritty that other people exist outside of their diaspora. And that's generally what happens when you have a settler colony that generally puts white people on top, even if even the poorest white person is conditioned to think that they are better than their black neighbor. That's just how the white supremacy system works. Larry, you're here and you're not up on the panel, brother?
I think he's still chained to his desk, perhaps.
I see him in the chat. Like, Larry.
Lair Bear, get your sunglasses and get up here, because
We can't forget the Trotskyists. I don't know if you're ready to move forward, but let me know when you are, because we can't forget.
Just
Is there anything else to say about Trots?
If you could read just the intro to MAGA communism and
Yeah.
see if there's anything else I want to
No
yap
problem.
about that.
I got it. MAGA communism is an alt-right neo-fascist subset of the Patriotic Socialist movement in the United States and an online slogan which calls for the unification of so-called Marxists and the reactionary MAGA movement in order to oppose the globalist elite. It is grounded in a number of opportunist and tailist, someone fix it for me, positions. Promoters of the MAGA communist movement enjoy very little support in the real world and are almost entirely confined to online spaces, particularly alt-tech platforms. The so-called MAGA communists have promoted conspiracy theories, racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia, and anti-intellectualism in order to appeal to other members of the far right. Emphasis on anti-intellectualism.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty much. Yeah, it's essentially everything that we've been saying. And generally what the comments agree. So, when you're out on your travels on the TikTok sphere, just remember that these people don't know what they're talking about. Well, they do know what they're talking about, actually. They do know. They know who they're trying to appeal to. They're trying to appeal to other white people, generally because they have petite bourgeois ambitions. And they are more interested in retaining their status as white people instead of actually bringing about proletariat revolution. And you can link them, this TikTok and Kollectiv TV on YouTube, if you want them to start more beef with us, because it's definitely going on. Any other comments, Cutie or Cruz, before we talk about the other goobers in the room?
No, not really. I mean, it's pretty easy to dunk on these guys. I mean, they're...
They sit there and they say, we have to appeal to the most reactionary elements and lure them to the side of communism or socialism. But like you said, it's all a means to just maintain the power of white supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, they really are just tailists. Like, that's just the truth. You know, a vanguard is supposed to, lead the revolution and lead the working class to a, communist society. And they are, in the inverse, allowing petty bourgeois elements that are, semi-proletariat to lead them instead. So, I mean, if your whole thing is just, conceding to right-wingers and then adopting their talking points rather than educating them, then I mean, I don't I don't know what you're doing, bro. You are just a Yahtzee, bro. That's it.
It's not communism. That's not what they're doing. So, no. Yeah, don't worry, Midwestern Maoists. Maoists are next.
Oh yeah, we'll get to you. Don't worry.
Okay, so the other homeboys in the room, the Trots. Cutie, it's interesting because I've seen your position change from absolutely loathing these people to kind of being like, you know what? I'll tolerate them for now, but not really. So I think you probably know a little bit more.
I can only be mad at
one
group, at a couple of groups of people at a time.
Right.
So,
We have a 2-group maximum per lie.
Yeah, that's my as much as I can do. I may have to create a united front with the Trotskyists.
We're coming for you, though.
I'm kidding.
Alright, Cutie, so you definitely know the history a little bit more than me, so can you give us the lowdown for those who don't know what a Trotskyite is?
So, I mean, I guess, like, just a very base thing about, the vanguard is that there's this thing, democratic centralism, where, like, when everybody makes a decision together, you follow through on that decision, and then you don't, leave and go bitch and moan everywhere about the decision being, a result that you don't like. You also don't support, tourism in that country if you don't get the result that you like, and that's basically what happened. The Trotskyists lost out, and deciding who would be the successor to Lenin, right, and lead the vanguard, right, or at least be chosen by the vanguard. And he just went around complaining and whining, moaning, and then left to Mexico and started his own group of people to go piss, moan, whine about the Soviet Union all the time. And that's mostly what Trotskyists do. I mean, they obviously have their own theory. Permanent revolution is basically the only thing that they have. It's like a form of like super internationalism. But really, the main thing about Trotskyists is just complaining about the USSR. That's kind of what they got. And once they stop complaining about the USSR and they start actually doing praxis, they stop calling themselves Trotskyists, and they, they're just like, well, I'm a Marxist, because that's what it is. Trotskyist shit is just like, chronically even more chronically online behavior, because all you're doing is complaining about a country that doesn't exist anymore and the decision that they made over 100 years ago.
No, for sure. So it's from my understanding that essentially what I'm probably oversimplifying here, but basically what happened was that Trotsky believed after there's a failed socialist revolution in Germany at the time, and he essentially believed that the Red Army should essentially roll through East Europe, through the territories that were seceded after the revolution, and basically force those people to be communists, to force them to basically be part of the Soviet Union. And for a lot of reasons, Stalin and the Central Committee were basically like, no, one, it's pretty anti-communist. Two, we just don't have the ability to do that. We just fought a civil war. World War I just happened. We're not industrialized to the point that we could feasibly do that. And when we show up, these motherfuckers are going to hate us. So, it's a bad idea. And basically, Trotsky just didn't accept that. And then he went to Mexico to bitch and moan and complain. And now you have a bunch of Angloids in Angloid land, otherwise known as England, who they publish a lot of newspapers basically complaining about actually existing socialism, about the USSR, and they don't really do a whole lot. So, so their main piece of theory is permanent revolution. And from my understanding of permanent revolution, it's essentially the idea that, you can use force in other nations to basically prop up socialist revolution. But in the almost literal way of the United States invades Afghanistan to put in a puppet government, kind of like that. Like, we're going to go in and then we're going to put essentially the equivalent of our compradors in charge and make the country communist. But if you don't do all the legwork to facilitate proletariat revolution, then you're not going to have the hearts and minds of the workers, of the people. You are essentially setting yourself up for failure for probably successful counter. Maybe a paragraph or two.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Give me a moment. We're talking about a permanent revolution. In their tireless efforts to betray the struggles of the workers and peasants, the Stalinists must continue to maintain a pretense of revolutionism. Yet their doctrines stand counterposed to the line of Marxism. This presents them with a dilemma, which they can only resolve by resorting to systematic lies about the Trotskyists. This goes from distortions of the political positions of Trotsky to denying Trotsky's leading role as a military organizer of the October Revolution, accusing him of carrying out espionage for the Mikado. While many of the specific charges leveled against Zinoviev, Bukharin, and other leading Bolsheviks accused of Trotskyism during the Moscow trials were admitted by Khrushchev in 1956 to be total fabrications, the method remains. Today we are witnessing a widespread revival of the Stalin school of falsification, especially on the part of the various Maoist groups. Just as Stalin in his day needed a cover to justify his crimes against the working class, so today must the Maoists resort to vicious slander in order to cover for their counter-revolutionary policies in Bangladesh, Indonesia, and elsewhere. This series is intended as a reply to these lies and an introduction to some of the basic concepts of Trotskyism as they have developed in the struggle against Leninism, reformism during the past 50 years.
Right. Thanks, Arias. Yeah, pretty much. Again, so Cutie just said in the comments, and it actually goes really well with the end of that article, or the end of that paragraph. Cutie says, easiest way to tell in Canada or any country, who a Trotsky is, usually talk about Stalin a lot. And, we've yapped about Stalin plenty, but, it's almost obsessive that how much they dislike Stalin. But the thing is, Stalin's dead. So, speaking about Stalin and talking about Stalin and reading Stalin books is purely academic. And we can take stuff from that and apply it to today, but whether or not you support Stalin is irrelevant, because he's not here anymore. He's got bros in the dirt. So
you got no power.
It doesn't do anything for us effectively. We can talk about, maybe if we were in a similar position as Stalin, would we have done this, or should we do that in 2025, or whatever. Those are conversations that should happen, but they're not. They don't hold that much utility in an actual revolutionary building.
Something I'll add is, so one other thing that Trotskyists will tend to do is create this false narrative that they are the true successors to Leninism, and that the Trotskyist school of thought is essentially the history that they tell is that Lenin and Trotsky took their ideas, the Menshevik and Bolshevik lines of thinking, and brought the best of each together and got rid of the worst and formulated what is today Marxism-Leninism. And that Stalin seized power and created a degenerated worker state. And that's sort of the fabricated history that they'll tell as well, and you can usually pick up on that pretty quick. If you go to a meeting of the IMT, I heard people talking as if that was the truth behind it, whereas Lenin didn't really like Trotsky all that much. He was just useful as a military tactician.
Right. There's a reason why Marxist-Leninism has been the most successful revolutionary ideology in the world. Just hands down, regardless of criticism, valid criticism, mistakes made by certain leaders, certain political groups within Marxist-Leninist organizations, ultimately has brought the most success. And Trotskyism, anarchism, Patsochism, all these ideologies we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, they don't hold a flame up to Marxist-Leninism. Which is kind of the whole point of what we've been yapping about here. Cutie. What? You got anything else? You got anything else to say about the Trots, my guy?
There's really they're just very irrelevant outside of complaining.
They want to discuss academic.
They're splitters. That's what they are.
Yeah, they want to. All they want to do is talk about the USSR and what happened. And then any modern socialist thing is not actually socialism. They're not doing it right. But they don't actually have a plan of how they would do it right.
Yep. It's these two groups of people, the Patsocks, the Trotskyists, they're goobers, they're goofballs, deeply unserious. Patsocks are more actively dangerous than the Trots. The Trots are just kind of wasting time. That's probably the simplest way I could put it.
They want to argue about things that happened 100 years ago.
I got an interesting quote from Cutie's Daddy Bukharin on the theory of permanent revolution. He says, Comrade Trotsky put the dictatorship out of the working class at the beginning of the process, but did not see the steps and transitions that led to this dictatorship. This is talking about Germany. He ignored the concrete relation of forces. He did not see the stages of revolution.
Nice Bukhara clause. So you're trying to get points with Cutie. Alright, I see.
All
Trying to keep his job.
Getting a cutie bucks.
3 points to House Aria.
The cutie
Alright. So, oh god. Oh, shit.
Look up the quote by Mao on permanent revolution.
It's probably in here. Hold up.
Alright, see if we can find it. I'll try to come up with something to yap at the peasants with. Buy our merch.
Watch the live on
Monster
Friday.
Energy drink. Watch our podcast on Friday.
The link's in the bio.
On YouTube. Link in the bio. Please.
Buy our new vans that are coming out spring of 2025.
Oh, our new shoes.
People are gonna actually believe us though because they don't investigate anything ever.
That's true. They're gonna run with this shit.
Do
That's
you
all
want
right,
to be
right?
part of the collective call? Buy our shit.
Yeah.
Or join the Discord, and if you want to post something on our YouTube, message us, and we'll look at it and see if it's awful or not.
We will judge
Beauty's relentless. Alright, I think that's what I got to yap about, unless you got that quote area.
I might have it. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. That's
Alright,
classic, bro. I don't even know where I came up with that. Let's see. I had it. I lost it. It's fine. I lost it. Well, that wraps it up, folks.
Well, way to go. Way to ruin everything. All right.
Hooray! Hooray!
No, I thought I had it, but somehow it's not as easy to find as I thought.
Next time, we're yelling at Maoists.
Nero. You're gonna throw some roses our way, or was that just?
It's just for me. It's just for me because I'm the best.
You're not.
If you give them roses,
You're
now,
not
they're
beating
gonna
the
be-
allegations, Beauty. You see,
Well,
Kollectiv has cornered the market of
sunglasses.
all the communist daddies. All right, so the consensus is basically Marxism-Leninism is the way to go. Kollectiv is the way to go. Patsocks are goofy. Trotskyites are goofy. See, she's got the sunglasses, but you didn't have the sunglasses, bro. And on the face,
Listen, bro. I have to wear.
I
Listen,
think we have.
you be quiet. I have to wear the mask, okay? And when I put the sunglasses on, when I had the mask on, it fogged the fuck out of my face. I couldn't read the thing I was gonna read.
Yeah, that's
You don't have to read, bro.
Well, I didn't have to because I didn't have to.
Listen,
Anyway,
you guys should come to the live on Friday. Check out the link. You're always gonna learn something here that you're not gonna learn anywhere else. So,
Thank you for the 0.7 cents, Neuro. Appreciate it.
we're rich. We're rolling in money.
that's where all the sunglasses are coming
This is
from.
what we call grifters.
Roses.
This is us making pennies on you, bro.
Yeah, you just gotta give me a denim jacket.
Denim jacket.
Denim jacket, bro. With the collar popped or what?
Yeah, and I gotta make bad anti-capitalist music.
Do we want to make time for questions? Or are we sick of it?
Sure.
Yeah,
Anyone got
I
any
mean, sure.
questions?
I was gonna say, I think I found the Mao quote.
Oh shit! We got
Why are you so
got
close
someone,
to the screen, bro?
Just 'cause I
a
want you to
special guest.
Oh,
Found the Mac quote? No, that's my.
Welcome to the stage, Comrade Larry.
We gotta do another hour.
2 hours. Let's go. Go on.
Hold on, I'm changing my clothes.
You can talk and change, dude.
No, I literally can't because my fucking mouth is muffled by the shirt.
I like how he just joined and got 22 coins. Like, I guess it goes to show who's the favorite.
While he's changing his underwear and shit.
Yeah, he's getting naggy. Not beating the allegations, brother. Not beating the allegations.
What
You're
was those
taking
allegations?
Collective is only men. How curious. All their secretaries are women too.
Interesting. All their background workers
Not the
are women.
secretaries, dog. That right there is terrible.
Their two producers are ladies. They take advantage of them.
The poor women.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
We're trad wives of Kollectiv.
Oh shit.
I'm good. Never mind. You're fired.
Only clear audio version. Boys
God.
Club. We're a boys club. Yep.
Yep. We are Boys Club, IDPOL, revisionist.
ID poll.
ID Paul, revisionist. Listen.
You ID poll obsessed libs.
Listen.
Quoting that other ID poll obsessed revisionist liberal linen.
What did we get called the other day? Red libs? Rad libs? Red
I don't
libs? Was it?
I think I heard red libs. Yeah.
That's true, Lumpy. I think we should encourage the people in the chat to share with their enemies and friends. Enemies first,
yeah.
of course.
Send this to Red Like China and Millennial Chaos and Redbone and Eddie Liger Smith and any white.
I don't have any of those people blocked, so.
Neither do I. Millennial Chaos is in our gulag, so like we could just
Very true.
just throw the link down the cell. What's up, Larry?
Hi.
How are you?
Indeed, brother? Larry, do me a favor. You got sunglasses on you?
No, I don't.
No.
At all? Like, not a pair?
Not
Oh,
like
yeah.
out in my car, but I'm not going out there.
Alright, that's fine. Just throw a filter on with some sunnies. What do you got going on, Larry? Did you come up to talk about Trots?
Yeah, I love Trots. They're my favorites.
Which one would you rather be alone in the room with, a padsock or a trot?
Oh God. Well, it depends on what my mood is that day, because a padsock is just going to, like, there's only one coming out of the room. A trot is more like, can we break this down, man? Can we get over your obsession?
Can you fix them, you mean?
Yeah, I think I can fix them.
Like, I can fix you.
Fix them.
Yeah. You missed it. We were reading the definition of patriotic socialism from Pro Wikipedia, and it basically said they're chronically online, and I thought that was funny. Because they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I'd rather deal with the trot, because the trot, like, is just more like, yeah, you're goofy. But, like, hats off
Trots
would
are
be
just
like...
bookworms. Trots are bookworms, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes they're incels, too.
Yeah. Pat socks are more like, listen, brother, I'm not racist, but, you know, and then they'll say some incredibly racist shit.
Yeah.
You know, because they say brother, they start out with brother. That's already like a bad sign.
Yeah, they can't insult their enemies who happen to be, if they happen to be people of color, without being racist. And I'm like, cringe, bro.
And they're full of shit, because I live in the Midwest and I deal with, you know, talking to regular workers all the time, and regular workers aren't nearly as reactionary as these motherfuckers make them out to be.
You mean they're not just, like, foaming at the mouth, like, ready to join the Yazis in a second?
No, but they get that way if the Pat Sox get a hold of them.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like, pretty similar to 1940 Germany.
Yeah, it's exactly.
We don't know anything. We're just ID obsessed rappers.
Well, yeah. Not only that, but you got, you know, also the red. I'm a red lib agitator and a known provocateur. So.
Yeah, you have your army of Maoist teenagers, right?
Absolutely, I got a whole army of
That's
Maoist
fair.
teenagers. You guys are Maoist teenagers.
Yep.
I didn't know I was a teenager. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I am a Maoist teenager. I am 13 and a half years old.
We're about to
I
all
think
get
that Cruz is just leaving alive. He's just driving away.
Which
Alright, Larry, you got anything to say before we end this? Because we're pretty much right at the And
Yeah.
No, I just had to do a run in now that I'm done with work.
It's always a pleasure to have you, friend.
All right, broski. Well,
Yes.
I think we called it. Yeah, watch our podcast on Friday. It's or catch it on the YouTube. Link is in the bio. Follow Kollectiv Re-Education. Follow Kollectiv on TikTok. Follow any of us on TikTok. If you have any content you want to collab on anything, you can message us. We're all pretty available to yap with. You can text Jesus Christ. You can message you can message Kollectiv Re-Ed, speak to Aria, you can speak to Lumpy Louise. I'm tired, so I think we're gonna end it.
Yes, Ash, I am breakdancing you all out. You'll just have to trust that I'm not breaking a hip and that I'm doing a dance.
Thank you to
Do
all
you do
the
the worm,
campers.
brother?
I could, but it would hurt.
Thank you to all the campers who came out today, and I hope that you have a good one. And remember that at Kollectiv Re-Education, we're right and you're wrong.
And there's a book club today. If you want to be part of the book club, join the Discord. Link in the bio.
That's true. We have a book club Mondays and
Alright,
Wednesdays.
I'm leaving. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.